Parsha is Emor. Of course, as you know, on Thursday night we will celebrate Lag BaOmer, and so the Parsha of Emor, which is not only, but at least a large part of the Parsha is about Chagim, and the Chagim that we discuss are Chagim that we're in the middle of: Pesach, Sfirat HaOmer, and Shavuot. And Sfirat HaOmer is worthy of our attention because it's been, to a large degree, unless you're Hasidic, it's been kind of overpowered by Avelus. Because there is this inyan during the Omer of Avelut, because of Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, Shelo Nahagu Kavod Zeh B'Zeh, and 24,000 of Talmidei Rabbi Akiva died. Because of that, we have different minhagim of Avelut. The minhag of Avelut in Israel more or less ends this week, either on Friday morning or Lamed Daled if you're Sfardi, but it's Erev Shabbat, so it's a bit different. And if you follow the minhag of Chutz La'aretz, so essentially the minhag of Chutz La'aretz, they do Avelut from Rosh Chodesh Iyar until Gimel Sivan. So they carry on. After Lag BaOmer, according to everyone, is like a day out of that, and we don't do Avelut on that day. I wanted to talk about the Omer, Sfirat HaOmer, but not in the context of Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, not in the context of Avelut, but in its truest context, which is Chag. The Ramban identifies Sfirat HaOmer as being Chol HaMoed, and it's a Chol HaMoed that connects between Pesach and Shavuot. And that is why, as I think I've said to you before, Shavuot is essentially the last day. Shavuot is one day, not 2 days, it's one day, and it's called Atzeret because it's the last day. It's the last day of the celebration of Pesach, and it all fits in. The first part of Pesach is about Yetziat Mitzrayim, Shavuot is about Kabbalat HaTorah. It's all one project, and Sfirat HaOmer connects the two together, and it's essentially Chol HaMoed. As such, it's a pretty good time. It's a pretty good time, and even though we have certain minhagei avelut, which tends to convince us that it's not such a good time, if you look in the halacha, you'll see there are fundamental differences. One that I often point out to you is Shechianu. It's a brach of Shechianu. In the 3 weeks, you do not say Shechianu, because the words are Shechianu, Kimanu, Vehigianu, Lazman Hazeh. It's a good time, and the 3 weeks is not a good time, so we don't say Shechianu. There are differing opinions as to whether to say Shechianu in Sfirat HaOmer. Even if you are in Avelus, even if you're not shaving, you're not going to weddings, there are those that say it's a good time. Fundamentally, it's a good time. We know that Mishenichnas Av, Mematim B'Simcha. Av is a bad time. It's a bad time for the Jewish people. Don't make business deals, don't take risks. We have no such minhag in this period. This is a good period in the Jewish people's history, and certain bad things happen. Why such an emphasis is put on that Avelus is a question in its own right, which I don't think we have time for today, but as most of you know, without in any way belittling 24,000 people is about 2 days' work of Hungarian Jewry in Auschwitz in 1944, in the summer of 1944, and we've had many massacres of Jewish people that have numbered more than 24,000, and we've not got into periods of Avelut. So it's very interesting how this stuck, how this came on. Perhaps because of blood libels, a lot of blood libels this time of the year, because you're not so clear with your Hebrew, you wouldn't know that Easter in Hebrew is Pascha, because of course Jesus died on Pesach, and therefore a lot of blood libels took place on Pesach because of the blood, and because we love drinking non-Jewish blood, obviously, and we put it in our matzah. A lot of blood libels took place. A lot of Jews were killed. It could be that because of that, the Avelut took on extra meaning as well, 1648, so many different things, but not my subject. I want to talk about the essence of Sfira, a bit of Chasidus today, a bit of Kedushat Levi, a bit of Rabbi Nachman. I haven't done a bit of Rabbi Nachman for a while. So, Kedushat Levi, Rabbi Levi Yitzhak Mibladitchev, Usfartem lachem v'hu karov le'ofen hanal. If I want to explain Usfartim Lachem, you're going to have to concentrate. This is proper Chasidus. You have to concentrate, okay? Ki hinei b'Pesach nitgala elahuto al yedei nisim v'niflaot. The revelation of God on Pesach is through miracle. It's through overt miracles. V'shera'ui la'avdo, and we are worthy of serving him. Omnam Hashem yitbarach rotzeh hagam shu me'orer otanu milemala la'avdo. God wants us from our own initiative to serve him, not just because he does things for us, but for us to have the impetus to serve him on our own, what we would call iteruta de la tata. That we will desire this awakening. We are looking for this awakening. This is the secret of Sfira. In the first year, in the first week is Chesed. We want his love. In the second week is Gevura. We want his fear. We want to fear God. In the third week, we want there to be Tiferet, that God take pride in us as a father would take pride in his son. That we work on our emunah. The picture that Kedushat Levi is giving us is that what we should be doing during this period of time, every week, should be a midah that we're working on and improving ourselves on, meaning we should be working very hard during this period of time. In the sixth week, we are getting closer in Avodat Hashem. ובשבוע השביעי, the שבוע of Malchut, שאנחנו ממליכים אותו על כל העולם כולו, we crown him as king over all of the world. לכן אחר שאלו המידות נמשכים מהבורא ברוך הוא באלו ימי הספירה, these are the midot that come from God in the days of ספירה, יש לאדם בימי הספירה להתבודד ולעבוד את השם אלוקינו. These are days where we take ourselves aside and refine our avodah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They're not regular days. They're not meant to be regular days. Kivan shebe'elu hayamim nimshachim elu hamidot hayisharim la'amor Beit Yisrael. If you are, I'm sure Emunah has this at home, and Chabad often give out different booklets where each week what you're meant to work on during the 7 weeks of Sfirat HaOmer, different midot, and each day has a sub-context to it as well. ובפרט בעת הספירה יש לאדם לשמוח ולדבק את עצמו באלו המידות ישרים. So it's very interesting if you are a religious Zionist, and I of course am a religious Zionist. I don't know whether I've ever mentioned that to you, but the midah of the week of Yom HaAtzmaut is Tiferet. And what's the midah in the week of Yom Yerushalayim? Malchut. Malchut. When we celebrate the Birah, the city of Jerusalem, we celebrate in the week of Malchut, and it's the first day. It's Chesed Sheba Malchut. There is no better way. There's no better way to describe Yom Yerushalayim than Chesed Sheba Malchut. It's getting Malchut with the midah of Chesed, the most incredible thing. Kivan she'adam chafei shemidot yisharim yimshoch bo. V'hinei b'Pesach, next paragraph, follow me, Shosh. V'hinei b'Pesach haya idgalut v'torot al midot shemidot yisharim v'hasichliut mi'aborei baruch hu. Remember, I've spoken to you a bit about this before. Pesach, it comes from God. The first day of Pesach is called Shabbat. Why? Because it all comes from God. God gave it to us. It's not our due. We're not in the right place. We are on a low level of Tahara. We're very tamei. God brought us out of Egypt. We didn't deserve to come out of Egypt. God schlepped us out of Egypt. And Sfira is doing it ourselves. I need to repeat it because it's so important. So many times in Jewish thought, there is the idea that something exists and then you have to go and earn it. Meaning we're schlepped out of Egypt. We're schlepped out of Egypt. We're not, what did the Malachei Asharet say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu at Kriyat Yamsuf? Elu of the Avodah Zarah, ve'elu of the Avodah Zarah. Why are these people more worthy than the other? They're both idolaters. Why are they more worthy than the other? Why do we deserve anything? We're schlepped out of Egypt. As I pointed out to you, Rav Hirsch says we eat matzah on Pesach. Why? Because that's the food of slaves. And we came out as slaves. We were slaves in Egypt. There's no uprising. We are schlepped out of Egypt. It's a Shabbat. It's Uteruta de La'ele. It's Kedusha that comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But what comes after that? We have to do it. Look at his words again. Hitorarut Shelanu. You have to do it on your own. Ladies, what can I tell you? It's so important. I'll give you 2 other examples. The Gemara in Nida tells us that when a baby is born, He knows all of the Torah when he's born. And then what happens? The angel presses on his lips and he forgets all the Torah. What does that mean? What does that mean? You ever thought what that meant? What does it mean? A kid knows what? The baby's learning Tosos? I don't know. The baby's doing a ritva in his mother's womb. He's doing nigunim. What does a baby know? What doesn't he know? When he comes out, he forgets everything. Well, what's the message? Let me tell you something else, something that I know you're all interested in. That your Beshet is out there. He was announced. And he never, ever played with his frisbee. And he was announced 40 days after you were conceived. He's there already. Josh, Jared, Bruce, Keith, wherever you're from. He's already there. You don't need to look. What do they mean? What does it matter? At the end of the day, you do need to look. You do need me to fix your shidduchim. You know that. You know, and I'm working hard on it. It's not hard. I don't have to work hard to get you shidduchim. You know, you're the cream of the cream. It's easy to get you shidduchim, but I need to make sure they're the right shidduchim. So what is the common goal in all of these messages? I don't think, the Maharal says when he's teaching Midrash, he says, you don't take Midrash literally. We get caught up on the literally. You have to understand the message of the Midrash. When the soul hasn't been born into this world, the soul is pure. Because the soul doesn't have an iPhone, the soul doesn't have internet, it doesn't have TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and Schmacebook, and it doesn't listen to raps and schmaps, and it's just a pure soul. It's not of this world. It doesn't even know who Haley and what's his name are. Thank you. It doesn't even know who they are. The soul is pure, and the kid. There's another name there. Someone wore a sweatshirt. I don't know. Drew. Whatever that means. Whatever that means. We have Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Drew. What did he draw? What did he draw? It's an artist. He drew. So you don't know any of that before you're born. Holy, holy. You've never seen a film in your life, never heard the music in your life. You're just pure. And when you come out to the world, you enter a body and the battle begins. Your body wants food, your body wants... So what is the point of the Midrash? The point of the Midrash, this is so important for you ladies, is that you've seen the truth so you can always go back to the truth. Once you've seen the truth, you can always go back to the truth. And that's exactly the same with your Beshet, exactly the same message. He's there, you just got to go find him. But he's there. Meaning, you've been there so you can go back. And I want you to know this, even though MTA, it sounds like I'm just talking to Northern Hemisphere, I'm talking to everyone. There are times when you leave Midrashah and you move on to different places, and there are times when, well, that was, and it's been. But once you've been somewhere, you know it exists, which means you can always go back. Because you've been there. And no one can ever tell you it wasn't and it isn't because you've been there. And if you've had a Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur like you had a Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur, you've been there. And if for the next 5 years you have a different Ne'ilah, but you know what Ne'ilah can be because you've been there. And if you've been there, you never give up hope because you know if you've been there, you can go there again. But you have to do it yourself. So if Pesach was the releasing of the Jewish people, we have in the days of Sphira a challenge to do it ourselves. God showed us a certain revelation on the first day of Pesach. We have these 7 weeks to reach there on our own. You reach there on your own. It's yours and it's yours forever. What you do on your own is yours forever. I think we did a couple of siyumim on the first day of Pesach in my house. I did a siyum. My daughter did a siyum. No, my daughter did a siyum on my mother's yortzeit just a few weeks before. And she did a siyum on Masechet Megillah. It was a week after Purim. And when she finished her siyum, I went to my study and I brought out a Gemara from my study. And the Gemara was the first Gemara I ever learned on my own, a Gemara Megillah. A Gemara Megillah from 1983, from years before I was born. And every single line, you know when you're underlining a Gemara, you feel like an apikoros if you don't underline everything, because like, who am I to say this isn't important? If Chazal put it in there, why should I leave it out? So you just end up with a book with loads of lines in it. It's like you've made sure that everything is underlined. And I've still got that book. I've got that book not because I haven't got a Gemara Megillah, but because that was the first Gemara I did on my own. I did it on my own, and it's mine. It's mine because I did it on my own. So see what he says. So on Pesach we have this revelation. It comes from God. We didn't deserve anything. He just appeared and he did it. He is a total chesed. The first week of the Sfira is chesed. It's a chesed. We didn't deserve anything. But the Sfira is me. I gotta do it. And I can do it. And no one in this room can ever tell me they can't do it. So narishkeit, how do I know? Because there's no one in this room who is less intelligent than me. So if I can do it, I know that you can do it. No way, because I know how I was at your age. I know how much I knew. So there's no way, no one person in the room can say, I can't do it. If you can't do it, it's because you won't do it. It's not because you can't do it. התעוררות שלנו, כלומר שאנחנו חפצים בזה התעוררות העליון, מה שנתגלה בפסח. We saw what we saw on Pesach and now we want it, but now we have to get it ourselves. You want to be Miriam Wolf? You can be Miriam Wolf. Miriam Wolf came from Chicago. What do they have in Chicago? Ken's Diner? That's what they have in Chicago. Miriam Wolf came from Chicago. Where did Yakira come from? Jackie. Yakira was Jackie from Johannesburg. You see what an angel that lady is? You think it just happened? You go one by one, each person. They all come from the same place as you. But you get a glimpse of it, now do it on your own. ממילא. נתווסף מלמעלה יותר הערה והסתכלות בזה החפץ והרצון שאנחנו חפצים. And what comes from מלמעלה is reflective of what my ratzon is and my chafetz is, what I want. If I really want it, if I really desire it, there's no one who can excuse themselves. No one. It's in your hands. לכן יש לספור ספירת העומר באהבה וביראה. וכן בימי הספירה להיות מוכנים ורוצים בזה השפע. We have to want it. We have to want it and aim for it and buy it. Buy the Torah, possess the Torah. וזהו ספרתם לכם. So you count for yourselves. You have to ספרתם לכם. You have to count for yourselves. It's something that you have to do. If you don't do it, it's okay, but it's you. You chose not to do it. Don't blame it on other people. Don't blame it on a teacher. Don't blame it on the air conditioning, on your room. It's you. You can do it. I don't know whether you know this. If you ever went to, I don't know who's here. Well, Daniela went to Ida Crown, but you know who went to Ida Crown? Originally, the Rosh Yeshiva of Mir Yeshiva went to Ida Crown. Did you know that? Not the current Rosh Yeshiva. He went to Ida Crown. You're looking at a kid in class, he ends up being the Rosh Yeshiva of Mir. People can do, ספרתם לכם דייקה, כלומר, הפעולה שאתם מורים עצמכם לאלו המידות. It depends on you. וספרתם לכם, it depends on how much you want to. And ספרתם isn't just counting, ספר is sapir, is light. You create your own light. You can create that light. It depends on you, it depends on your effort, how much you're prepared to invest, how much you're prepared to do. Have a look at Rav Erez Moshe Doron. Rav Erez Moshe Doron is one of the modern Rebbes today who teaches Rebbe Nachman. He has a few ideas. I really want him for his last idea, but we'll start at the beginning. Apparently, it's a very good place to start. So says Judy Andrews. משמעות ספירת העומר היא התבוננות והניסיון לעמוד את מידת התרחקותנו מנקודת המוצא. We're trying to look at ספירת העומר. This is his starting point. We're not counting how many days there are left. We're counting how many days we have passed. Not what there is to achieve, but what I have already achieved. If I try and look at what there is to achieve, it's a Millstonian way of looking at a line. Elal have this minhag to tell you to come and board when they don't really mean it. And what they normally mean is go and stand out of a section that they then want you to go through again in order to board. So I come out of the lounge and I go to board, and there's this enormously long line of people. We're meant to be flying 10 minutes later, and I'm thinking, look how far I've got to go. And then I look back and see, oh, look at all those people behind me. So which way are you going to look at it? Who's in front of you? Who's behind you? How many days there are to go? Or how many days I've passed? How much I've achieved so far? There's always so much to achieve. There's always so much more to do. But the question is how much you've done. So see what he says. Le'emod et midat hitrachakotenu minikudat hamotza. See how far we have gone from where we started. Ladies, look at yourselves. See how far you have gone. Not what you haven't managed to do, but compare yourselves to the first week in Midrashah, where you're trying to work out what the hell you're doing here. And they didn't tell me about this when they spoke about the Midrashah, and how am I going to get through a day when it's 18 hours long? And see how far and how much you have achieved. Kama dat kva kaninu, how much knowledge we have already possessed. And not how much we have to do. If you look at how much you've got to do, it can destroy you. Because there's no end. There's no end to our literature. There's no end to Torah. There's no end to how high a level you can become. But first of all, look at where you've come from. I have to do this to myself all the time because I live in a yeshuv of tzaddikim. Everyone around me is greater than me. But every so often I stop and I, especially a weekend like I've just been at. I was in my hometown for the weekend and I spoke in my home shul. And I spoke in a number of shuls, but I spoke in it's a walk down memory lane. It's not just a walk down memory lane because you remember yourself in the different places, and none of the places are the same now anyway, but you remember the streets, and I can walk myself everywhere. I know the town, I grew up there. But people remind you because people remember you. They remember what you were like when you were this tall, when you were this small. They remember all the bad things. I was in a shul on Friday night that we got kicked out of because we tried out the fire extinguishers a couple of times. We were, as B'nai Akiva, kicked out of that shul because we wanted to see whether they worked. They did work very, very well. And you're wondering when you're talking to the community whether someone's going to say, did you ever pay for that? Did you ever pay for those fire extinguishers? Milston, it's Milston, isn't it? I remember you. Instead of looking where you've got to go, you say, well, I came from nothing. I came from nothing. I couldn't learn a Gemara. I didn't know what a Rashi was, a Tosfot, nothing. So I can look at all the things I have to do. There's plenty that I have to do, but I can look at where I've come from. It gives me a bit of koach. Look at where I've come from. If I see where I am today, the same person walking the same streets, but it's not really the same person. So he says beautifully here, it's such a beautiful Rebbe Nachman, that counting yourself, doing a cheshbon with yourself, Svartem lachem, bit different to the previous comment, counting yourself, Svartem lachem, lefi kochotecha ata, according to your strength, according to what you can do, lefi ma'asecha ata, your actions. Not Yenam's actions, not the other person's actions. There's no comparison to the other person's actions. Never, ever compare yourself to another person. Waste of time. It's irrelevant. Compare yourself to yourself, what you have done. Don't try and count other people's sphera. Count your sphera, what you've done. Only you know what you've done. Only you know what you could have done. But Svartem lachem, count what you've done, what you've achieved. And with the koach that you get from that, you can move yourself forward. Miyad b'motzei chag harishon shel Pesach. You're so lucky, ladies. I discovered Rebbe Nachman about 7 years ago. You're discovering him like 40 years before I did. Incredible. Miyad b'motzei chag harishon, straight after the first night of Pesach, Belel Tetzayim b'Nisan. היו יוצאים בני העיירות שבסמוך לירושלים בהמוניהם אל שדות ושם ממנים 3 אנשים לקצירת העומר. Technically, what did they do on Motzei Chag Rishon? They took people out to the fields and they appointed certain people to cut the harvest. Sorim elu nivru, this barley was checked, nitchanu, it was ground, naklu ba'esh, it was burnt, and while they were burnt, it was brought to the Beit Mikdash. That is minchat ha'omer. That is the korban of the omer. Korban mincha avur klal Yisrael. Behekshel mitzvah zo kotev Torah svartem lachem imachra. You start counting after that mincha. After you bring that korban on the second day of Pesach, you start counting. Miyom aviachem, from that day, omer hatnuva sheva shavatot timot tiena. Kol yom la'achat tfilat arvit, and every evening after Mariv, anu metzuvim Lispo kama yamim avru miaz hanafat omer. We have to count how many days have passed since we brought that korban. How many days have passed since we brought that korban? ספירה זו מתבצעה במשך 49 יום עד היום ה-50. We do this for 49 days until the 50th. We don't count the 50th. The 50th is Shavuot. הוא חג השבועות. לכאורה מצווה מוזרה. It's strange. לספור. The mitzvah is to count. The tolo. Nothing more. You just have to count. And if you're a Litvak, you say the bracha and you count. No lam natseach, no ana b'choach, no sfirot. You just count. Hayom. But Pesach anu chogegim et chag ha'cherut. On Pesach, we celebrate freedom. Cherut mishibud Mitzrayim. It's freedom from the oppression of Egypt, from slavery. Mi'inuyim midatohem apasulot, from their oppression, from their wrong opinions. Me'orach chayehem, from their life, which was not the right way to live life, their pagan life. Ke'et, and now la'achar hashichrur, after we have been liberated, moreh lanu haTorah b'mitzvah hasfira hora'ah yesodit, we are given a fundamental instruction. Ein dai b'shichrur min hara. It's not enough to be released from the evil. Hatachlit hi kinyan hatov. The purpose is to possess good. It's not enough to relieve yourself of the bad. You have to not just sur meira, you have to do good. You have to asay tov. Geulat Mitzrayim lo hayta rak sof hashibud. The Geula from Egypt isn't the end of oppression. It is be'ikar tchila v'chana lihithavhata shel yetzira. It's the beginning of creating something good. You cannot create the good if you don't leave the evil behind. Yetzirah chadasha tachat hashamayim. Yetzirat am segula, the creation of a chosen people, a people to this day that is chosen. The only people in the world who have the guts to face up to evil and fight evil. And all of the others are cowering in fear of what they'll do to them and what their response will be. To this day, this chosen people is doing what should be done. Shekaber alav Torah elokit v'yanheg al pia, that we accept the Torah and behave accordingly. Pesach is the starting point. Pesach is where it all starts. Hamovila b'sof arba'im v'tesha yom, it brings us after 49 days to Shavuot. V'cheinu hadavar b'gulato ha'pratit, but this is the same on the individual level. We have a national freedom of Pesach that will lead to a national Geula of Shavuot. HaGeula v'acherut meshubadim u'mitzrayim shonim, mitredot u'mitzukot einena matara k'shela'atzma. We are trying to relieve ourselves from certain things, but it's not a matara b'fnei atzma. HaMatara ha'amitit hi lesagel torat chaim na'ala litkarev letachlit meromemet litnaseh mi'al ketanot hayom yom, is to be able to elevate ourselves, to get past the tedious things of every day. Shebein hashlav shel shichrur mishibud, between the stage of oppression and slavery, va'ad li shichrur haruchani, until you get to Shavuot. Nisav nisayon sheyesh litmoded imo la'avino kra'u amanat ligael geula shamash. We have a challenge. Every day we have a challenge. Every day we have, no, Rosie, that's a challenge which you are failing badly failing that challenge. Shana tmima chalfa. A whole year has passed in Egypt since the beginning of the Makot. Va'ad litziat b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Yisrael, before we came out of Egypt. B'shana zo, in that year, lo od avadim shvelim, we weren't slaves anymore, right? I've told you that before. Please, girls, I'm telling you what I'm going to do. One more phone and I'm going home. Okay? One more phone, I'm going home. It'll be the first time I've ever done it, but I'm tired and it's rude. I'll just go home and you can have an early evening, and if you think that's schar, then I don't know what we've been doing all year. וכי מי שהוא זה שיעז לגעת לרע באנשים שאלוקיהם עושה שפטים בארץ. משום כך קשה היה להישמע לקריאה שבאה לאחר כשנה. After a year, we're free people. We're free people in Egypt. When the Makot start, we're free people in Egypt, and then God says, leave. It's very hard to leave when you're a free person in Egypt. I don't know how many people have learned about Egypt in that way, but the latter period of our time in Egypt was not a period of slavery. Slavery stopped. And when slavery stopped, the people didn't want to leave anymore. Why should you leave? We're not slaves anymore. לצאת אל המדבר לקבל שם תורה אלוקית, ואכן רבים לא עמדו בניסיון. Many didn't stand by it, and they wanted to stay in Egypt, and they did stay in Egypt. People didn't all leave, because the challenge of leaving, when you don't have to leave, is much harder. אמנם אלו שיצאו למדבר נגאלו, but the people who went out, the people who did go out into the midbar, the people who went out to face the challenge, they were redeemed. The people who got up, the people who were prepared to do something with their lives, they were redeemed. And the people who stayed behind, the people who never moved, the people who did the same thing every day because they didn't have the character and koach to do anything else, they got lost. They got left behind. They didn't necessarily die, they just got lost. Their lives were lost because there was no much more to their lives. They didn't have the koach, they didn't have the personality to stand up and face and change, to face change, to do something different, to leave their comfort zone, to do something else, to not have a cynical look every time someone says something that doesn't fit into the culture that you've been indoctrinated with for the last 17 years. Says something different. You give them a look, you block it out. And if you do that, you stay in Mitzrayim. You stay in Mitzrayim, you'll be lost in Mitzrayim. It's very easy to do the same thing again and again and again and again. The question is, how reflective is that of living? How much is that about living, or how much is that about just imitating yourself and doing the same thing again and again and again? You want to stay in Mitzrayim, you'll stay in Mitzrayim, but you'll die in Mitzrayim. Or do you want to go out into the Midbar? Lech techa charai Midbar. If you want to go out into the Midbar and face the challenges that you have to face, and do the things, and at the end of the day, in our context, who's the one who stands up here at the end of the year at the Mesibat Siyum and knows that they did something? And the other one will be sitting in the back knowing that they didn't do anything. That they chose every time to be on their phone, they chose every time to be in the square, they chose every time to hide in their room when they're checking around for cholot. And they had those little victories every single time. And then you get to the Mesibat Siyum and you see the different people at the Mesibat Siyum, and you see the people who left Mitzrayim. They left Mitzrayim and they fought and they challenged and they had some kind of redemption. And you have the other people who didn't want to leave Mitzrayim. It was easier to stay in Mitzrayim. It's easier just to be the same and be the same and be the same and be the same. And life disappears from under your feet. It just disappears from under your feet because you're not living. You're not doing anything new. You're just doing the same thing again and again. You're not adventuring into life. You're not taking up the challenges. You're not leaving your comfort zone. You just want to do the same thing again and again and again. The petty, tedious chat that is much more interesting than listening to the words of Rav Moshe Erez Doron is seemingly more meaningful than breaking your teeth over a Gemara, breaking your teeth over a Rebbe Nachman. Hasira im ken hi galui liksofim lo tikva. The sfira is meant to reveal a hope that we have and a will, a yearning that we have to move forward. You count the days. You're counting the days of your achievement of what I've done. We are urging to get the Torah. When we'll be prepared to receive this kli of the Torah, שבה נתן הבורא עולמי תורה לעמו. כי עיקר הסירה היא בחינה השתוקקות וכיסופים קדושה. What Sfira is about is the yearning for some kind of holiness, to get out of Egypt and get to Matan Torah, to get to a different place, to be in a different place. Skipping a few lines. על-ידי ספירה של כל יום ויום מימי הספירה זוכים לצאת משער אחד של טומאה לשער אחר. Each day you count, you move up a level, you move to a different level. וממשיכים מוח ודעת הקדושה בכל יום ויום. I want to go to a bit that he says near the end here. Go over to the page, the other side. So going back to the question that we asked, it's like third paragraph down. If it's hishtakakut l'Torah, why isn't it a count backwards? Why isn't it 49, 48, 47, 46? He did mention it before, right? We're counting about what we achieved and not what we need to achieve, but he goes a bit further here. We should say now is 49, and now is 48, and now is 47. A countdown, like you do for weddings now. Anu sofrim kamas manava, but we don't. We count the other way around. We left out of Egypt. It's another day since we left Egypt. Yom Echad, Yom Shani, Yom Shlishi, Yom Revi. Kloma anu mesayim before midat hitrachakotenu min hayom harishon. We're talking about how far we are since the first day. Madua. Rabbi Natan was Rabbi Nachman's Talmud. בליקוטי הלכות, כי תם הדבר הוא להודיענו שהתבוננות אדם רק על חסרונותיו, רק על מידת ריחוקו מתכליתו האמיתית, עלולה להפילו לתהומות של ייאוש וחידלון. If the only thing you look at is what you're not good at, is where you aren't, it's going to destroy you. You have to look about what you have done, as we said. ועל כן אין אנו סופרים עד כמה אנו רחוקים ממתן תורה. We're not talking about how far away we are from מתן תורה, אלא כמה כבר התקדמנו מאז יציאת מצרים. How far we have gone since Yetziat Mitzrayim. Skipping a line, and then you have the koach to carry on counting. On the first night we bring barley, it's animal food. The first night after Pesach we bring a korban of barley, it's animal food. But we bring bread on Shavuot. We bring human food. We have moved from being on an animal level to being on a human level. אלו הן שתי הנקודות העיקריות בציר התנועה הנפשית והתקדמות הרוחנית. הראשונה מאכל בהמה שהמייחד אותה הוא היעדר הדעת. מאכל of a behema, what is a behema? Behema doesn't have da'at, doesn't have an opinion, doesn't have morals, doesn't have values, has animal instincts. This is what animals do. והשנייה מאכל אדם, but what is a human food? What is a human being? שמייחד אותו היא הדעת, is knowledge. Is a human being is meant to have knowledge. We're meant to have intellectual capabilities. וככל שמפנים אדם יותר את ההבנה לשם מה נברא ומהי תכליתה עלי האדמות, and the more a person thinks of why they were created, why they are in this world, הרי הוא הולך ומתקרב יותר ויותר אל נקודת השלמות. A person gets to a more complete way. שהיא המפגש בין דעת אדם לדעת בוראו. The more a person becomes a human being and less an animal, the closer it becomes to הקדוש ברוך הוא. משמעות הספירה אם כן היא התבוננות וניסיון לעמוד את מידת התרחקותנו מנקודת המוצא. As I've said, the point of the ספירה is to see how far we have gone since where we started. כמה דעת כבר קנינו, how much knowledge we have acquired. ולא כמה אנו רחוקים עדיין מהדעת השלמה, not how much we have to do. עוד מציינת התורה ספרתם לכם לעצמכם. מצווה על כל אחד לספור לעצמו. You have to count for yourselves. I hope people do this. I hope you do this חשבון with yourselves. You count for yourselves. אל לו לעשות השוואות בינו לבין אחרים. אם אז הוא לא מוכשר יותר, if your fellow is more talented than you, או שהשיגיו מוצלחים יותר, or they have achieved more than you, אין זה בהכרח נוגע אליו. It's got nothing to do with you. כוחות וזמן יקרים מאוד, our strengths and our time are very dear, ועלולים להתבזבז בניסיוננו לחקות אחרים, and it could be wasted when we try to copy other people, ולהגיע להישגיהם. בעוד שמכל אחד ואחד נדרשים בעצם דברים אחרים לגמרי. Each one of us, God has an expectation, a different expectation for each one of us. מה שיש לאחד עלול להיות בלתי נחוץ לחלוטין לאחר. So what does it mean, וספרתם לכם? פירושו אם כן ספירת מלאי is to count stock of yourself, to count your stock, פרטית של הישגים והתקדמות ולא בהשוואה לאחרים, ונוסף לכל האמור לעיל, נוסף ספירת העומר מסר נחוץ ביותר. And there's one final thing he wants to say here, which is classic Rabbi Nachman. ימי האדם מנויים וספורים. Our days are limited. We don't know how long we're going to live. None of us in this room know how long we're going to live. זמנו הולך ואוזל. Our time is running out. הולך ונעלם is disappearing. לא כפי שאנו אוהבים לדמות לנפשנו, not like we like to imagine that we have time on our hands, שהזמן בידינו, שהוא ארוך ורב, we have so much more time. I'm sure there are people in this room who remember that it was only yesterday that you were unpacking, and tomorrow you're packing. And where's it gone? Gone from stage to stage, time just, well, you have to wake up and use your time. It's not just a matter of laughing or crying, it's waking up and use your time. וגם מחר אפשר לעשות את שהחמצנו היום. We think we can make up tomorrow what we didn't do today. We can go to the shiur tomorrow that we didn't do today. We can go to this that we didn't do today. And that's all on the premise that we have a tomorrow. And that tomorrow exists. נהפוך הוא, כל יום הוא אבדה בלתי חוזרים וכל יום. Every day is a day that is lost. I want to tell you something that actually happened to me many years ago when I used to sit exams in England. So my dad wanted me to pass exams and I wasn't doing so well. So he gave me a watch and he said, put the watch on the table and divide the questions up according to the watch. So if there are 10 questions and each question is 10 points, okay, 100 points, and there are 100 minutes, so it's 10 minutes per question. So put your watch on the table, and after 10 minutes, move over to the next question. It's classic exam method, right? Why? Because you can answer 3 questions very well, all you're going to get is 30%. You have to answer every single question. If you don't answer every single question, you lose marks. I don't answer 5 questions, I've lost 50% straight away. So I have to answer every question. And that's how I sat all my exams. Once I started doing exams properly and taking them seriously, it was the key. The first thing I did, my aleph base, when I reached an exam, was to take the watch off my hand and put it on the table and divide the time up of the exam. Everything went perfectly. I started passing exams. Everything was great. And then what happened? I came to Israel and I had to do Rabbanut. I had to do Rabbanut exams. And I come in, it's totally different experience. Because in England, I sat on one table on my own. I wasn't allowed anything. I had a pencil case. You remember what that was? With a ruler and a compass or whatever. Nothing else on the table. A pencil, a pen, and an eraser, a rubber. That's what I was allowed. The rest of the table was clear. I turn up at this smicha exam. There are 7 people sitting around the table. 4 of them were Moroccans, which meant we were about to have a picnic. They start taking out food and putting it on the table and offering me this. Then we had a zimun, had a little sing-song. Totally different experience. And then they give out the exam paper. I remember it like it was yesterday. They give out the exam paper. There is no time allotted on the exam paper. There's no time allotted on the exam paper. So I turn around to one of the guys there and I say, have you ever done this before? He says, yes. I said, well, how much time have we got? He says, Yebeseder. What does that mean? The gematria of Yebeseder? Well, what does that mean? Yebeseder. He says, okay, don't worry. He says, well, how much time have I got? How much time have I got to sit the exam? He says, yeah. So I said, I need to know. I got my watch. I need to know how many minutes for each question. He says, as long as you want. I said, you're sure? He said, yeah, me'achuz. Mamash, that's what happened. 24 questions. Nidav v'mikvahs. That was my first exam. 24 questions. You've got to know, it's all unseen, right? So you've got to know the Gemara, the Rishonim, the Achronim, the Halacha, everything. You've got to know everything. You've got to know it all. And it was in Hebrew. And I've only been in Israel for 2 years. I had to write an exam in Hebrew. So I start writing, and I've got all day, so I'll write everything. I don't know whether you've ever written in a language that isn't your mother language, but you write things 4 or 5 times because you're not sure they understand what you said. So that's what kolomar, you keep repeating yourself and writing it again, and writing it again, and writing it again. I've done 6 questions, true story. I've done 6 questions, and some lunatic stands up with a hat on his head, he says, 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. The room erupts. People start shouting and screaming. He looks at his watch and he says, 4 more minutes. In the meantime, I'm rolling on the floor, having some kind of physical reaction, saying 5 more minutes, within 5 more minutes. And then at some stage I say, look, David, get a hold of yourself, just get up and start writing. And I start writing like I've never written before. Turns out this was a lunatic, because he stands up another 5 minutes later and he says, you know what, another 5 minutes. And of course, me being English and taking everything literally, I thought he meant it. And of course, I was like a nervous wreck by the end. He carried on for the next 4 hours. And then they took him away and put him back where he came from. And I came coming out of the exam going, 5 minutes. And I got home and I knocked on the door. My wife opens up and said, "Where are you?" I said, "Give me 5 minutes." That more or less happened. And a few years later, I reviewed what happened there. You know, we look at life like I used to sit exams in England. You all do, because I'm listening to you all the time. I probably listen to you much more than you listen to me. I mean, I really listen to you. I know you hear me, but I listen to you. And I say when I'm 17, I'm going to do this. And when I'm 18, I'm going to do this. When I'm 20, I'm going to do this. When I'm 25, I'm going to do this. I've got it all planned out. And I got time. The problem is, ladies, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but just in case you aren't, the world is like my Rabbanut exam. It's not like my English exam. And every so often, God turns around and says, "You've got 5 minutes." And sometimes he doesn't even tell you you've got 5 minutes. Our cemeteries are full of these people. I have a nephew who was injured on Motzei Shabbos. Got 2 kids. He was injured on Motzei Shabbos. Thank God he's fine. Just suddenly get shudder, you know. In Gaza. That's what our lives are. And my suggestion isn't here that we become morbid and start arranging our funeral because Rav Milson says we don't know how much time we've got. But that we do understand that we don't have time. We don't have time. And I'm sick and tired of 18-year-olds telling me that they're too young to listen to this. Because on Yom HaZikaron, I stood by the grave of a 16-year-old who fought for the independence of the state of Israel and died. And Har Herzl is full of 18-year-olds. You're not too young. You're actually too old to be told this. You should be doing it already. You're not too young. These are the best years of your life. These are the best years of your life. And it's a travesty of justice. And it's a bal tashchit on the highest level that you're wasting your time on your phones. It's a bal tashchit of the highest level. And I'll say it till it comes out of my ears. That this is your life. These stupid machines is your life. The minute I finish, everyone's going to be checking within a second, like, who's writing to you, Mr. Trump? Like, what messages have you got? I know you're important people because you're my students, but who the hell is writing to you? What's the message say? I see these Mazel Tovs, and the message I don't understand. What does that mean when someone writes what, they're at the dentist? What does it mean? Mazel Tov. So-and-so's engaged. What does that mean? Like, what world are we living in? This is your life. These are minutes of your life. These are days of your life. It says you count the days of your life. Listen, this Rebbe Nachman, count the days of your life. Kol yom hu aveda bilti chozeret. Kol yom. Every day is not coming back. They're not coming back. Ladies, we got 3 weeks left together. 3 weeks. I'm not a mashkichaz. I won't come and tell me they're burnt out. You're burnt out at 17, 18. You're burnt out from Torah. Do me a favor. Ad mea ve'esrin. How can you be burnt out from Torah? Pick up a bit of Hasidus. Pick up a bit of a base. How are you burnt out from Torah? Learn something else. You're going to stop your degree in the middle. I'm burnt out? What do you mean? It's life. Every day that goes by is another day. And 3 weeks is a long time. If you come here 1 year in the winter, you have 3 weeks here, you'll be over the moon. I got 3 weeks in Midrashah. 3 weeks is a long time. 21 days. It's a long time. 3 weeks, 4 weeks. If you use it properly. Not if you spend your time talking about next year and the year after. Next year, what you talk about the year after, and the year after that, you talk about the year after. You spend your whole life not listening to John Lennon. Life is something that happens when you're busy making other plans. And suddenly you wake up and your life has gone. Believe me, I spent a weekend in a place I grew up in and I can't believe that I'm already 25. I can't believe it. I see pictures of myself and the only thing I think is, well, you can get a job as Santa, even if your beard isn't as white as some people painted it on Purim, Haley. But it seems to be getting there. I see pictures of myself and I think, who the hell is that? That's you, old man. Old man. That's you. No, I'm Milster with the dimples. Hey, your dimples have got things growing in them. And there's nothing up there anymore. And where did it go? And you don't believe me. That's the problem, is you don't believe me. And the only time you'll believe me is when it's too late. When you suddenly reach that age and you look back, which is the biggest nightmare in a lifetime, to look back and realize what you could have done, what you could have been, and it's too late, and you've missed it. אם ינוצל כראוי, יוכל להצמיח ניצנים חדשים בנפש אדם. If you use your time, if you spend that time, if you work hard, כי כל יום טומן בחובו תועלת. Every day has a purpose, every day has a use. שיום אחר לא יוכל להביא, and every day, classic Rabbi Nachman, every day has something that yesterday never had. Every day has something that yesterday didn't have. Every day is a new day. Every day is a new possibility. כי כל יום הוא בריאה בפני עצמה. Ladies, I'm giving you gold. This is gold. This is worth more than anything you can buy. Every day is a new creation. ונושא בכנפיו לימודים ואתגרים חדשים. Every day has new things to learn. Every day has new challenges. Every single day. Everywhere you go. Everything you do. שונים ואחרים לחלוטין מיום האתמול. Today is totally different from yesterday. Or are you too busy looking at that stupid phone and playing Candy Crump or Temple Plump? And wowee, you got a lot of gold coins. Shkoyech. You go to Shamayim and you say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I got the high score in Temple Plump. Shkoyech, well done. That's what you did with your life. You got your high score. I told you when my children used to play that game, Temple Plump, I said, you're playing it wrong. Leave the money for the poor. And when you get to the water, go in the water, have a tevila, and that's how you play. No, Abba, no. You have to get, I said, no, that's the way you do it. Leave the coins for the poor. You don't need leave it for the poor, and then jump in the water, do the Shem Shamayim, you do a mikveh tevila, and you get the high score. I said, no, Abba, you don't know, Abba, no, Abba, you don't understand. I understand better than you understand. What do you want? You want the high score? On the high school, you want to play these stupid little games. That's it, ladies, with your neshamas. I know your neshamas. You got neshamas like no one else. I know. I say it objectively. I know your neshamas like every single neshama in this room except for the guests, because I don't know their neshamas. I know I've got gold in this room. I know I've got gold in this room. I know your potential. I've been watching you all year. I'll miss you like no one else. I got to walk around the Beit Midrash humming Eicha. I know you think I'm joking. That's what I do. I spend my summer. It's either that or looking at Rav Sussman's smile. What do you want me to do? So hi. So I walk around. I say, oh, she used to sit there. I have this. I know that a Shabbos here. I know what you can do, and I know what some of you have done, and the greatest frustration is to see people who can do who don't. To see people who can do who don't. And nothing you can do about it, right? Because it's not my life. It's the same with your children, but you are. You're my children, I'm the papa. I should slam my hand on the desk. I'm the papa. Kelashon Rabbi Natan, ve'ikar kavanat hasra. Listen to Rabbi Natan. Ikar hasfira b'pshitut hu shesrichin ladat she'yemei adam menuyim u'sfurim. The main purpose of sfira, this is something else. You've not heard this before. He says the main purpose of sfira is to know that our days are numbered. Over the page, our days are numbered. V'mispar u'v'minyan kol yom v'yom. V'adam yitzarech litan din v'cheshbon mikol yom v'yom. And ultimately, I want to refine it a bit. I won't go too over time, honestly, I promise, because I'm really tired. He said, we're going to have to give a din v'cheshbon on these days. But ladies, not to God, to ourselves. We're going to have to give din v'cheshbon to ourselves about how we spent our days, about what we did in these days. Ki ein shum yom holech levatala. No day is without reason. Chas v'shalom. V'afilu shav v'rega echad eino holech levatala. Not 1 minute is a waste of time. You know what you can do in 5 minutes? Sometimes, yeah. I shouldn't do it, I suppose, but I'm in a traffic jam, it's not moving, so I just read a perek in Tanakh. I just press the chapter, and I just read Tanakh on the phone. I've got 5 minutes. If traffic's not moving, I just read the Tanakh. If I can't read it, I just press a play button and it reads it to me. Or I listen to a shiur. Not 1 minute. בבחינת שבע שבתות תמימות תהיינה, שהשבע שבתות שהם ימי ישראל צריכה להיות תמימות. The 7 weeks have to be perfect. Not for me, not for your mom, not for your dad, not for your Rebbe, for you. Svartem lachem, for you. You've got to count the days for you. בעבודת השם, ולא ילך מהם רגע לאיבוד חס ושלום. You shouldn't lose a minute. You shouldn't lose a minute of your life. כי שבע שבתות מרמזים על כל ימי חיי האדם, because the שבע שבתות are a remez to the years of a person's life. I'll just finish this. I won't read everything else. You can do it in your own. There's so much here. I don't know. Oof. ועל כן אסור לאדם לדחות את עצמו מיום ליום. A person shouldn't push things off. I'll do it tomorrow. רק לידע. I would hope, I don't know. I would hope that, I don't expect this of MTA. You're still in your youth in the Midrashah, but not for long. Soon you're going to be the veterans. But I would hope that people on a Monday night, I mean, how many more restaurants can you go to? How much more will your father let you swipe that card? Go to the Beis Midrash, free evening, free Torah in the Beis Midrash. Time, it's important time, or do something of value with your time. Know that this day will never ever happen again. Will never happen again. It's past. The present is a second, and it passes, and it's done. Tomorrow is another day, and it's another day. It's another day. This is fundamental, Rabbi Nachman. It's another day. It's another experience. It's another part of our life. You should be Yosef. Again, you don't owe this to anyone. You owe this to yourself. You owe this to yourself. I cannot be more serious. If I was looking at me, I would be very solemn. I cannot be more serious, you girls. I don't know how better to tell you. I can only tell you that in my heart, not in my back, not in my blood, and not in my pancreas, but in my heart, I'm still an 18-year-old. I still look at myself that way. I still feel that way. I still behave that way in my mind. But every so often, as Meira Fulk can tell you, I can't even schlep my bag on my own. And I need someone to help me through the airport. Chesed Shelebe, I will always thank Meira for getting me back to Israel. I couldn't have done it. I mamish couldn't move. I turned around at the end of Birkenau and my back just cracked and I couldn't move. So the people in Israel laughed at me and said, it's because you were in Poland. I said, no, it's because I was coming back. It's because I was leaving Poland. I'm leaving Poland, my back went. So my heart is there and I feel young and my body just reminds you, you're just not. And it's so hard to pass this over to you because at your age, as you should be, you're looking at your watch and you're thinking, I've got hours left of this exam. But Ezrat Hashem, we'll all have hours left. That's not the point. The point is time. Time is the biggest enemy. They used to say in England that time is money. Time's not money. Money goes, money comes. You lose money, you gain money, you have good months, you have bad. Time always goes. It just goes. I just got to know you all and you're leaving. That's ridiculous. You don't have to be as emotional as about me. I explain that in Strive for Truth, why I'm more emotional than you are about it. But I might have shared with you a millimeter of what I wanted to tell you, and my time is running out. So MTA, you're going to get the rest. But I won't be able to tell you everything because I haven't told you stuff I've told them. And time just runs out, and suddenly there's something I never ever took b'cheshbon. I made Aliyah 35 years ago, 10 years before I was born. And my father was 50 years old. I never imagined my father would get old. So you see my father, and you came round, you saw him on point, very sweet old man, and it breaks my heart to watch my father. Can't walk. He can't walk. I have to use a wheelchair on Shabbos. It's too hard for him to walk. It takes too long. It breaks my heart. And you never think your parents are going to be like that. You never imagine your parents are going to be like your great-grandparents. You just never remember time. So the point here isn't that, please God, we should live to that age, and we should be able to enjoy what we enjoy at that age, and so on and so forth. But we have to know it comes quicker than we imagine. And this message of Rabbi Nachman isn't the pshat, but it's so true. Sfartim lachem, you have to count. If you're not responsible enough to count your days, then your days will disappear. And you don't want that. You don't want to wake up one day and realize that you never did what you could do because you see that other people did. And you never did it. And you had the opportunity to do it, and you never did it because you didn't want to make that one more effort. You didn't want to push yourself that one bit more. You just want to stay in bed a bit longer. And everyone agrees it's easier to stay in bed a bit longer. Everyone agrees it's easier to have a coffee and take it easy. The problem is we get nothing done. We get nothing done. And you have expectations, like I have expectations. I'm never disappointed with a student who I don't think can do any better. I'm happy that they were able to do what they can do. The biggest heartbreak is if you ever see someone who you know can do better. You just know they can do better. And for them, you want it for them. You mamash want it for them. Sfartim lachem, count your days. There's so much here, ladies. The final comment here at the Shla, I'm over time, sorry. The Shla just says, that is the pshat in the words, Avraham Zakein Babi Amim. Babi Amim means he comes with his days. What does that mean, says the Shla? So I said every single day, when he came in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he brought all his days with him. Never a wasted moment, never a wasted day. I don't know whether we have to be as extreme as that, but know that we have massive challenges. There are so many Yetzarim out there, so many things out there that are drawing us away from living our lives. Ladies, you want them to make films about you. You don't want to watch films. You want to make films about you. You want to have dreams and fulfill them. You don't want to read books about other people's dreams. Let them write a book about you. For a good reason, not for mass murder or anything like that. Let them write a book of the good things that you did, the achievements that you made. Let them write a book about you. For one final thought, I just want to tell you, I told you before in my eternity share, I have no yichus in my family at all. I think we're directly related to Noach. I think that's about it, but I have no connection with the Vilna Gaon. And you're getting lots of calls out today. Where the Vilna Gaon, where is she? There she is. And not the Balatanya, no one, and nothing. And at some stage in my life, when all my friends had all of these yichusim, I said, well, so you haven't got any yichus? Maybe one day someone will say they were my grandson. I'll make yichus. Maybe. So make yichus. Let it be mine. Let it be mine. Let my life be mine. And let me count those days. And let me make it count. I have to make it count. Have a good evening.